Well, hello, Mary. How are you? Happy Tuesday. Hey, Kim. How's everybody doing? As you're popping on, say hello. Hello, hello. I actually got ready a few minutes early. It's a miracle. Yeah, good, good, good. I'm doing okay. Hey, Barbara. Are you guys all cropping tomorrow? The big Wednesday. Oh, is it a party day? Hey, Robin. Aha. It is. Can you guys see? Still, was there an interruption? Think we're still live. I plugged in my microphone after I started, so God only knows what kind of trouble that'll cause. So, all right, everybody still there? I don't want to have any technical difficulties. Okay, so hello. Whoa, that's enough to get you dizzy, huh? Hey Marilyn. All right, I think everything should be good. Can everybody hear? Hey Renee, can you see? I'll move my elbow so that no one says I don't have any manners putting my elbows on the table. All right, let's get started because I'm kind of excited to talk about dye inks and blending with blending brushes. You know, Jen Shirkus was here this weekend and I got to, while we were taking care of all of the customers and everything, I got to sit through her classes a couple of times. And I realized that we should go back to basics, I think, because a lot of people just need a reminder and a refresher, and maybe there's some new tips and tricks that we can share that I've learned from all different people, Jen Shirkus, Tim Holtz, and from just experimenting myself. So this sheet right here is a digital download that you can download on our website. This one is a free one. It's about all about inks. So it talks about pigment inks, dye inks, hybrid inks, and solvent inks. Um, we're going to talk about dye inks. So they are the typical inks that are used in stamping and scrapbooking. Some are permanent, some are not. And we'll kind of go over those. I'm going to show you blending with two different ones today and maybe some other ones next week. But what happens is they have a lot of water in them. So the ink is mixed with water, and then that's what absorbs into the paper. So it absorbs into the paper and it dries quickly. Hey, Janice. Hey, Christine. Hello, hello. Um, and then um, depending on the paper, from all of Tim's demos that the ink looks a little bit different. And that is because it's translucent. So that the color of the paper affects the color of the ink, right? So I mean these are things that if you watch Tim Holtz's videos, you definitely know that. Um Now the different kinds of dye inks, the brands, right? Memento is a dye ink, which is a water based archival ink. Archival ink is also a dye ink. It's permanent. Distress ink is a dye ink, but it's water reactive and dries a little bit slower and isn't permanent. Lawn Fawn also is a dye ink that's archival and fast drying. And surprisingly, I don't know if people really think about it, but you can really blend all of these dye inks. And then the Hero Arts dye cubes are also dye-based inks, and those are the typical inks that we carry in the store. So I just kind of wanted to talk about those. But again, this is a really informative download that we have on the website, and just wanted to go over the basics about dye inks. So this is a blend that I did just to kind of show you with Distress ink. Is it on camera yet? Sorry, the delay's a little. Robin's asking, what do I mean by not permanent? By not permanent, I mean that if this is a distress ink and it's basically dry, if I dripped water on it right now, the water would react and it would move the ink and create the splatters and the kind of vintagey distressed texture that we like, that distress ink is known for. Okay, so that's what I mean by not permanent. If you blend in archival ink after it dries, you aren't going to be able to do that. So that's what I mean by not permanent. Does that answer your question? Okay, this is a blend I did with blender brushes. I'm going to talk about the different kinds of tools that we have. Holy moly, my screen just went cuckoo. Everybody still there? I'm going to talk about the different kinds of tools that we have for blending. All right. So this I did with blending brushes. These are brushes that we have had in the store from the Rabbit Hole. We have these. And of course, everybody's seen these by Tailored Expressions. We have those in the store as well. And then Hero Arts has, and we have these in the store right now, 2 sizes of larger blending brushes. All right. Then you've got different kinds of blending brushes. You've got these smaller blending brushes. You've got these little blending brushes that we carry at the store for detailed blending. And then you've got your blending tools with foams on them. This is the domed foam and the regular foam. All right. So if you've done ink blending, I'm sure you've seen these. So there's all kinds of different brushes. These little ones are better for detailed ink blending, not necessarily big backgrounds, but maybe small areas or in stencils and things like that. These work for all kinds of blending, but they have it's like every tool has its bonus, I guess, or the thing that you like about it the best. I like to use these for paint and for oxides. So we will talk about that. These can also be used though for blending with the other dye inks. These are also good for archival because as archival is permanent, then the sponges don't wash out. Okay, so lots of different kinds of blending tools. Now, if you're doing a background like this, the larger size blending brushes work the best because you aren't going to get, I'm going to show you. This is this blue right here I did with our little detail blending brush. And to do a large area, you're going to have to work really hard and you might get like little circles and spits and spats of darker, not necessarily a smooth blend like you see on this. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of show how that was. So if you're doing a large area, a large brush makes more sense. Of course, if you've been using a small brush and it works for you, then continue doing that. I'm just saying that if Jen was talking about if you're struggling with ink blending, maybe trying some of these things that we've learned from the experts like Jen and Tim and others might help. So this is just kind of a rainbow that I did. It is abandoned coral, fossilized amber, cracked pistachio, and peacock feathers. Those are the colors that I used on that one. So you get a nice smooth transition. And I'm going to actually do a blend so you can see. So I can kind of talk about some of the other things that I've been doing, but have a better understanding of why I've been doing it. Now, you know that the paper matters. Neenah cardstock. There's some Hammermill cardstock that works really good for blending. We of course have this is the heavy stock in white. That's what I'm using. You could use watercolor. It really just depends on what paper you like. I'm going to go on the white because that shows the color for what it is. If you were going to use the manila or the vanilla or whatever you want to call it, the other heavy, this this color, the heavy mixed media stock. Your ink colors come a little bit different with these dye inks because they are translucent. Okay. So one thing that I learned from Jen this past weekend is that the reason working on a glass mat or a non-porous surface is a good choice for ink blending is that if you use paper as your mat and you start blending, you're going to start blending like this. Your paper for your mat is already absorbing your ink, and you're just going to be working harder because that is absorbing your ink before you even get it on your paper. If you're blending on a non-porous surface, it doesn't soak up your ink. So your ink is going to all get onto the paper that you're trying to ink blend. Sorry, my hands are a little blue. I was dyeing some fabric. They told me to wear rubber gloves, but of course I don't listen. So, okay, so I'm just going to do a one color blend to kind of show you um, the way that works best for me, so that you get a nice smooth blend. All right. So the first thing, I don't wash my brushes, but what I learned from Jen this weekend is that, and I just used to do it on a paper towel. I would just rub my brush on a paper towel to just get whatever ink was on it before. So clearly this has been used with blue. So I'm going to continue to use blues with it, peacock feathers, but I don't remember if I used a lighter or a darker before. So I'm just going to rub my flour sack cloth into my brush and pull some of that ink off so that when I start blending, I'm going to have the color, excuse me, the color that I want. So you can see as I'm massaging it, it's just pulling some of that ink off. Okay. So that's one good thing, but you can use a paper towel. I just use a paper towel and rub it like this. Don't use anything wet though, because then it's going to take a while for your brush to dry. Okay. So I don't know if you wash your brushes. I've never washed any of my blending brushes. I just rub the ink off on, to either my flour sack cloth or a paper towel, but I do keep them all in the color family. Okay. So I'm going to get some ink on this brush, and then I am going to tap it over here on the side to just kind of bring that ink down. All right. And that is something that Jen talked about this weekend. Now, because I'm working on my glass mat, which is a non-porous surface, I am going to start my circles on my glass so that I've got my motion going. And then I'm going to bring it on the paper. So you've already got your circle motion going, and you can start your ink blend. Now, pushing harder isn't going to give you a faster blend necessarily. All right. Ink, it's all about building up your layers, right? So we're going to start like this. You can see I didn't get any of those spits and spatters. Now, this is the, what's that color? Abandoned coral. And what I did on this one, so I could show you what happens, I didn't start on my mat first. I started right on the paper, and you can kind of see that I didn't have my circular motion going, and I got dark spots and some circles. Now, I could work really hard to even that out, absolutely, but why do that if you don't need to, right? So I'm going to get some more ink on the brush. I'm going to tap it on my glass surface, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm starting over here, and then I'm bringing the brush onto my paper. And I'm inking, 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 inking. All right, I'm going to get some more. Tap it off. Start over here. Now, if I were going to do this as my whole background, I would just keep going. All right. But if I wanted to go and switch a color, then I can get it to the intensity that I like, and then decide to move on to my next color. But do you see how starting off of the paper really gets you going here, and you get a nice smooth blend? And you can keep going for as long or as little. I mean, you can just get a really light. You just wanted it to be very light. You don't have to go as dark. You could just have a little bit of blue in the background like that. All right, so that's with the Distress. Now, I am going to show you with Lawn Fawn ink that you can also do ink blending with those inks. All right, I am going to use, this one's got pinks on it. I'm going to massage it a little. I think I used this for Abandoned Coral last, so let me just massage that color out. All right. The other thing that you want to do, which I almost forgot, I'm glad I didn't, is since we were blending blue and we were starting off of the paper, we've got blue ink here. You want to make sure you wipe that. Now, you can just wipe it on with your paper towel or your flour sackcloth or whatever, or you can actually clean it with water or alcohol or whatever you typically would use. I'm just wiping it off so that I can get moving with some bubble gum. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm getting some ink on there. You can see, filling up my brush with ink, tapping it off over here, and doing the same thing. Starting off, and it doesn't have to be glass. It can be a craft mat, because that is a non-porous surface also. You could use a silicone mat also. Those are a little bit stickier sometimes, but it is non-porous, so you could use that too. But see, we've got a nice blend with our bubble gum. Let's put a little bit more on there. Sometimes my hand gets tired from holding the handle, so I have to hold the head of the brush because it's a bigger space to grab onto. Okay, now what I am going to do is move into yellow. I've got to use my yellow brush here, and I'm going to clean that up a bit. I think I used fossilized amber last. So we'll clean some of that off because that's a little bit darker than the sunflower. All right, so now I'm just going to do another stripe of color here to kind of show you how the two colors will blend together. You can hold your paper however you want because we're not necessarily stenciling a shape, and we can move it. I like to go, once I do my top row, I like to go sideways because now I'm going to blend across like this. Oops, I didn't wipe my pink off. Sheesh, I almost forgot. That's how I end up with like orange instead of the colors that I want. I'm going to show you. Mary's asking, how do you get the edge of the colors to blend smoothly together? I'm going to do that right now, Mary. I'm going to put the yellow right here so you can kind of see. So I'm tapping it off, and then I'm starting my circles over here, and I'm going to just bring it onto the paper and start blending. So I started with Lawn Fawn Bubblegum, and now I am using Lawn Fawn Sunflower. Now, to get a smooth blend, you have to kind of touch your colors a little bit. And the way to get it nice and smooth from color to color is to go back and forth. Now, I probably don't even need to put more ink on this one that I use for the bubble gum, but I'm just going to come in and kind of go over that seam, I guess you could call it, where the yellow is coming into the pink. Now, these colors are going to mix a little, so you might get orange depending on how much you overlap them. And sometimes that just makes doing a rainbow blend a lot easier, because if you're using red or pink and going into yellow, then those two colors mixed are going to give you your orange, and you don't have to use orange. All right. So you're going to come back in and do some pink. And then, hey, I squished my brush. I'm going to come back in and give a little yellow there. All right, I am going to actually get a little bit more ink on the pink so that I can smooth that out a little, but I'm going to wipe off the yellow here. Get my pink brush, tap it off, and I'm going to come in like this on this too, so we can get some more pink down here to kind of smooth it up and kind of overlap them. And there you go. Is that what you meant, Mary? Does that answer your question? So you kind of have to go back and forth to kind of blend your colors that are overlapping. All right. So because of what I have out, the next color would be green. I'm going to do that real quick, and then we are over time today because we did a little bit of explaining to start. So this one's going to be a little bit longer, but I feel like people are interested. You guys are interested in this, right? So I'm putting my green, which is the freshly cut grass. I'm tapping it off, and I'm coming in to my paper and my off screen. Let me move up a little here. How's that? Overlapping the yellow so that they blend together. I'm going to come back in with a little yellow here. Smooth that out. Some colors will blend a little bit easier together than others. Some you have to work at. But you shouldn't have to work too hard, I guess is my point. All right. And there is the green. And then the next one would be a blue. So I'm going to wipe some of this peacock feathers off of here because we are going to use Mermaid, Lawn Fawn Mermaid. Oops, dropping things. Okay. And then the last, I'm flipping this over upside down because that's where I'm going to work. Tapping it off. And I'm going in. Get your upper body workout here with all this twirling of your brush. Sorry if I keep going off camera here. And I will finish this, but I'm going to talk to you while I'm finishing this. So next week, I think what we'll do is we'll work some more on ink blending, but we will use the round distress blending tools, and we will look at using archival inks for blending. And depending on how much time we have, we can talk about using distress oxides, because those are a hybrid ink, a mix between, or a mix of dye ink and pigment ink. Come back in with the green here. Those blend differently because they are not translucent. The oxides blend differently because they're not translucent. So a color will go over another color and not necessarily mix with it. So we'll continue talking about inks and blending and using the different tools. If there's anything in particular you'd like to see, let's talk about it. Okay. Oop. Let's go back in with a little bit of green here so we get that smooth. And there you go. A nice little lawn fawny rainbow background. So you've got your distress, which is I always forget that one. Abandoned coral, fossilized amber, cracked pistachio, and peacock feathers. And this is bubblegum, sunflower, freshly cut grass, and mermaid in the lawn fawns. All using the larger head brushes because they're just make your backgrounds easier. All right. Any questions about what we've talked about today with dye inks and blending them? Susan's saying she wishes she could remember all the different inks and what we use them for. On our website under shop, you can go to digital downloads. This is a free download of that you can print or save or whatever, talking about the different inks and then what the brands are and what types of inks they are. That is a very helpful resource to have if you're struggling with what the different inks do. So go to the Scrappy Chic website and download that. It's free. All right. Anybody have any questions? I've taken up more time of yours than I usually like to. So if not, I will say adios until next week. And you can always refer back to this. I'm starting to put descriptions of what the technique talks are. So this one is called dye inks and using blending brushes. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. And we'll be talking to you very soon, I'm sure. If not in the store, then we'll see you right here next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Technique Talk. Thanks, everybody.